Morning. Morning, guys. How are we doing? Come on. So, we are about to start the third and last day of debates. And I hope you prepared some questions for today's speakers. And without further ado, I think we are almost all on our places. Yeah. So, I'll call Cindy, our lovely moderator for the last 3 days, for this last debate. And yeah, please take the most out of this last debate, and I'll see you in a minute.
Pensava que ia chamar as pessoas, não? Okay, good morning, guys. Hope you're doing okay. Let me continue to ask, have you been posting on social media? I've been seeing more posts, actually, so I'm quite happy with that. I hope when you guys finish this that you all create, I don't know, some kind of podcast or something, interview each other, interview the people that you want to reach in the energy sector. I hope you start doing a lot more stuff, creating content and making yourselves known as experts in your field. So for today's debate, I'm going to start off by calling our speakers. So applause for Andrea Carreiro from Felt PT. I don't know if you say it like that. Sit down, please. Andrea Fernandes from Eno Energy. João Faria Conceição from REN. And Ana Casaca from Galp. Do you have a microphone on that side? Yes, okay. So let's get started. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here this Monday morning. So these guys have been here all weekend working on their papers, and today is private sector, so I'm sure that they're looking forward to speaking with you all, and we'll have a short Q&A at the end of the questions I'll be asking. So let's start with Andrea, since she's sitting here next to me. So as a young professional, what was it like when you entered the job market? So did you feel that you were prepared? And how about your colleagues? What was their experience?
Is this one?
Yes.
So, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Today I'm representing the FELPT, so is the Future Energy Leaders Portugal organization. And also I am the Director of Innovation Strategy of CleanWatts, which is a company dedicated to the creation of energy communities. It was really difficult to start in the in the market. I think we are never prepared. I took engineering in University of Coimbra, and I remember to sometimes ask to my professors that I'm learning a lot of things. It's really difficult to pass the exams. We have to study a lot, and I don't know how I will be able to apply this in my professional life. Mm-hmm. So to be honest, I really feel that I should start to work and to do some kind of practical work in the University of Coimbra, doing some research. And at the end, I started to work in a spin-off of University of Coimbra to do my master thesis. And then I did this master thesis. This company was created for some young PhD students from the University of Coimbra, so it was a really interesting environment to start my professional life. And then after this master thesis, I've been there and I worked there for around 6 years. So it was really good. But I think we are never prepared to go from the university to start our professional life. And even nowadays, when we need to move to another company or to another challenge, sometimes we don't feel prepared. So basically, I think that we need to study a lot, to to think a lot and to be really resilient, to never give up in some way. Yeah.
So when you started in a quite young company where the other co-workers were young as well, is that it?
Exactly, exactly. So we were basically young people working there. Of course, we needed to hire some persons that has much more experience, and this is really important because I think we should have a kind of it's really important to have diversity in companies. So young people, but also seniors are really important, and we can complement each other. The main, I think it was also really interesting because I started to work in the innovation department, and the innovation, basically in ISA and also in the Clean Watts nowadays, basically what we need to do, it's to have new ideas, create new projects to try to see if it will fit in the product that you have nowadays to be competitive in the future market. So it's really interesting for someone that is young and really wants to create new things to start in the innovation context. And this was my context, so I'm really happy for that, to be honest. I can imagine that in a corporate infrastructure probably would be a little bit more difficult, but I don't have this know-how. I start in a startup of young people, so I have a different experience.
Okay, thank you. So, João, her experience should be much different from yours, you know, from a startup to REN, which is completely different, I can imagine. So, most of our audience isn't from Portugal, so I would really like for you to briefly explain what REN is and what role it plays in Portugal's clean energy transition.
Well, thanks very much. Good morning to you all. I think it's quite interesting to be in this event because it's completely different. Last week I had the chance to be in several conferences, but the mindset is completely different from the one we find it here. REN, for those that don't know us, we are the transmission system operator for electricity and natural gas, or nowadays gas, because we are moving from natural gas to renewable gases. We operate the grid, so basically we are the ones that connect the generators to consumers at the very high voltage or high pressure. And we are also responsible for the dispatch center. The dispatch center is a control center that most of the people don't know, but is where the people that work there guarantees that at every moment consumption equals to supply, and therefore we don't have any kind of blackouts. It's a completely critical team that works hopefully below the radar, so that if you don't hear about us, it's because we are doing a good job and there is no event that requires the public attention. The context is a little bit different from Andrea. It's more corporate world. REN is I'm not saying a big company. It's a big company for Portuguese sides. It's not a big company for international sides. We are about 800 people. We are listed in the market. That brings an additional responsibility because we have multiple shareholders. And we are a special company in the sense that this was, until recent years, a state-owned company operating in a public service, and then that went privatized. So in this, for many people in Portugal, rise a question, how is it possible to have a private company doing a public service? I think REN is a good example of how that is possible, because we try to do our duty as professionally as we can in order to ensure that everyone has energy at their homes.
Okay, thank you so much. And speaking also of private, we have Ana Casaca from Galp. Ana, can you please briefly also explain what Galp is, or what Galp does in Portugal and worldwide? And yeah, go ahead.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Galp is an energy company. I usually say that it used to be a traditional oil and gas company that made a bold decision a few years ago and decided to embrace and lead the energy transition. So we are a Portuguese company, although most of the profits come from other countries. We're based in Portugal, a very inclusive and diverse company, and we basically explore, produce, and commercialize different types of energy: oil, gas, and renewables, green hydrogen in the future, and so on. So we are a big company in Portugal, like REN, so we are a public company listed, but if you think about worldwide, we are a mid-sized company. We are not like Shell or BP, and that allows us to have entrepreneurship spirit inside of the company that for me it's really a pleasure, so because I'm the global head of innovation, so it's really a pleasure to have a culture where you can put your hand up and say, I want to do a specific project because I believe this makes sense for the future of the company. So last year, we defined our purpose. The purpose is let's regenerate the future together. And it's based on 3 pillars. The first one is we believe in 2050, we will not have the same portfolio that we have right now. So we really need to embrace the innovation and transformation culture in order to be here in 30 years. So that's one of the pillars. The other one is refresh relations. So what basically means is we want to do this transformation with our stakeholders, with the academia, with the public entities, with the communities where we are, so we can do this transformation in order to become a decarb company in 2050 in an inclusive and diverse way. And the last one is, of course, people. Re-energize our people. We believe that the skills that we have now are not the skills that we will need in the future. So this is a learning, for us, it's a learning journey, and we will learn with everybody, internally and externally, in order to adapt all the challenges that the energy transition has. So we really embrace the energy transition, and regarding the bold decision that we did last year, just to finish, just to make sure that we are really doing our part, is we basically said loud and clear, and we are already doing it. 50% of our new investments will go to renewables and green and clean new energies.
And I actually have another question for you. So you just mentioned the 3 pillars. And I would like to know, as head of innovation, what part do you think that youth plays in helping you reach your new purpose and your new goals?
So for me, innovation or transformation in a company, it's 90% people and 1% technology. Although I'm the head of innovation, and I, of course, as you can imagine, I love technology, but I believe that youth, you all, I think I'm still youth in my, I'll give you an example. When 45 years old, it's still youth. But I tell you, but I'll explain you one example. But I truly believe that you will join a company and you will be part of, you will question what we are doing. Okay? You will say loud and clear that why are we doing this? Can we look to the same, to this problem, to this solution in a different way? And I think it's this mixture. I tell you, for example, my team, we are 30 and 9 nationalities. So although we are a Portuguese company, we are a very international company. We have 9 nationalities, and I have people that are 22, 23, just joined, like especially the trainee program, and I have 15% of the team, more or less, 50% of the team that has more than 30 years of the company, in the company. Yeah. So I tell you, for me, the success of the department and the team is really it's because we are really being able to mix the experience with the new skills. Okay. So we'll bring new people with new skills, with new capabilities, with new ways of looking to the same old problems, and we mix with people that, you know, saw things in a different way and have so many experience. And this is the, for me, leading an innovation team and leading a transformation journey is really being able to mix these different views.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. So, Andrea Fernandes, does that happen at your company too? So tell us a little bit, tell us briefly what InnoEnergy is and how it contributes to the preparation of young people to impact and work in the energy sector.
Good morning. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. So, InnoEnergy. I would have like 3 hours to explain what we do, because we do a lot of things. But in a nutshell, we are an accelerator, an innovation accelerator. And we build and scale up companies that could tackle the energy transition, mainly in Europe, but of course energy is global, so we cannot talk very specific on regions, but this is where we operate in Europe. So it's a pan-European company. I'm heading the activities here in Portugal within the Iberia office, and we focus on attracting the best people, attracting the best technology, and put that in a special place in order for tackling whatever challenges the market has. So we are quite different accelerator because we are an impact accelerator. So we definitely only invest in people, in companies, in technologies that really have an impact. So CO2 in terms of society and in terms of finance. So we also follow the Sustainable Development Goals of the EU. And for us, these are the main ingredients. In terms of how we do things, I probably would give an example. So our first unicorn, and when we talk about VCs and accelerators, we always talk about KPIs. And the unicorn is a good KPI to validate the model that the company is following, because it's a success in the market. Back in 2015, there was a group of people, just people, young people, that knock on our door in Sweden, and they approach us saying, we have an idea. Okay, so let's listen to that idea. And the idea was so aspirational, but it made sense, that we thought, okay, so this is impelling us to do things differently, not just investing in a technology, making the technology transfer to the market. That's the business as usual. But this idea was so aspirational that they didn't have a market in Europe. So what can we do to build a market for this technology to thrive? So we went to the European Commission. First stop, we have a public part in our public budgeting part, and we went to the European Commission, and we explained, this makes sense, this can bring 250 billion euros per year after 2025 if we invest in this market. And the market was to build a value chain, because we didn't have the value chain in Europe. And then in 2017, we made the European Battery Alliance. So this is an open network. I invite you all to check it out. It's EBA250.com. And there we just open a platform for market, technology, for talent, for students to bring their own expertise and together to start doing things to build this value chain. And in 2020, we have our first unicorn that is called Northvolt, and this is the story behind. So we go far and beyond to support the companies and the people that we invest in, because if their success is our success at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. João, I'd probably ask you, Anna was speaking earlier about, you know, the mix and of ages in the company. How does it happen at REN? So is it easy for you to attract talent? Have you had any challenges welcoming youth to the company? Tell us about it.
Well, if answering directly, if it's easy, no, it's not easy. Because when you are in a medium-sized company, I think it's a little bit the same in Galp, and where there is a long tradition, there is always a clash of generations. We in REN, we are operating in a sector where people tend to be very risk-averse because of the business we do. Any mistake we do, it will be catastrophic for the country, and it will be our end, especially at the management level. I'm sure many of our heads will roll if something goes wrong with the activity we do, which make us a little bit risk-averse. Having said that, what we are facing is that if we don't bring new generation in, we will face serious issues in all this work that needs to be done in the energy transition. And I give you an example. I was speaking before the start, which is something that happened with us, and it was transformational in the sense that not only for this specific solution, but the fact that the impact it made on the internal culture of our company. When these electric vehicles start to be a trend, we had the discussion in REN if we should or if we should not strategically look to this opportunity carefully. And all the engineers said, oh, how are we going to recharge a car with a very high voltage? I mean, if you put a very high voltage directly in the car, you might end in the moon, because it will be definitely not safe. So we were kind of dropping this idea of trying to be involved in this electric vehicle charging new world. But in 2017, for the Portuguese people, you might remember, we had serious problems during the summer with fires. And one of those fires led us in a situation very critically that two of our three substations that supply power to the second big city in the country, Porto, they were out because they were supplied for their control rooms by the distribution grid, and the distribution grid was seriously affected with the fires. So we lost control of these out of three substations. We lost all our backups, so if something goes wrong with the third one, the big city of Oporto would go into a blackout. And we launched an emergency, I would say an internally emergency program to solve this issue, because no one would understand how a company that deals with the transmission of electricity would go out of electricity in their own infrastructure. And our engineers came with a very simple but breakthrough idea of a new architecture, making it possible to convert directly very high voltage to low voltage. And at the same time, the new generation came and said, if we are able to convert very high voltage into low voltage, that issue of the electric vehicles charging could be solved, because we could be, for a specific application and specific uses, use this concept, and with that, it was born a new proprietary architecture that we developed in RAN. It's called Speedy. If you are interested, you can look for it, where we provide a solution to convert very high voltage into low voltage and in the nearby of our infrastructure, making available these charging stations to be available for fast charging in a parallel way, in a very robust solution. And with that, we created internally a change in the culture by creating what we called the innovation leaders and what we call also operational innovation. The operational innovation in RAN is basically a team that goes to our operational teams that work in the field. They try to understand what are their problems, and they try to find simple solutions for those problems. It's not difficult to say that this innovation team is made with a large majority of our young engineers, because they need to bring new ways of working, new ideas. They need to question the status quo within a company that is very conservative. So to sum up and to answer directly to your question, if it's easy, no, it's not easy, but it's the job of the management, and it's the job of the most experienced directors and senior officers to make this change possible, because if we don't do it, I think all this work that needs to be done, and it's a huge work for this energy transition, it's going to be more difficult, or even to say a little bit jeopardized.
So it's pretty amazing how everything, like everything in life, when you reach an adversity, that's the time where you see if you sink or swim. And if you put a group of people together, they'll come out with some brilliant, innovative ideas. And I wanted to go back to Anna again. So yeah, you do need this balance between generations, like you were saying earlier. And I would like to ask, so how do you actually sit down with all these people, you know, youngsters with disruptive ideas and seniors who are more down to earth, and how do you get that balance between the employees in order to maximize results?
So let me answer that question, but first let me present one of the initiatives that we have.
Yes.
That we are really transforming the company, and that are allowing Galp to really open the culture. So last year, we launched Upcoming Energies. Just Google it, Upcoming Energies. It's our open innovation platform that basically allows us to be challenged by the society, by the startups, by the universities, by you, with solutions, with the ideas. And what we do is basically we open our infrastructures, we allow you to talk with an expert, with someone with experience, with knowledge in the sector, and together we test the solution and we help the inventor or the startup to test the solution and to scale the solution. So, and you can ask, so what is the benefit that Galp, a company has when we do this? And we might, the first thing that you might think is, okay, you are looking for new solutions, looking for new technologies. Yes, we are. But to be honest, I think the where and why we are doing this is we really believe that by opening ourselves, by allowing you to do proof of concepts, to do pilots with us, we are really learning together to make the solutions of the future. Okay, and going back to your answer to our question, is it's not usually easy to put someone with 60 years old, with 30 years of experience working together with a trainee. But that's what we do in Galp, because we believe that putting you, young professionals, in contact with experienced leaders in the company allow both people to make this journey. And the journey is energy transition. So we know that 50% of the technologies do not exist in order for us to reach a decarb world in 2050. And it's by doing this type of programs, by doing these open innovation programs, it's by having, we do have another program that I just remembered, is our trainee program, that after you join the company, you will do a project sponsored by an ExCom member, so a member, a director responsible for one specific area, and during a few months, you work in your idea, you do a pitch, and in the end, we are happy that some of the ideas were actually implemented, and were implemented with the sponsor of the board, but with you, with the young leaders, to really lead the project. And that's the type of programs that we do. But in the end, it's because we truly believe that the solutions come from everywhere. The innovation comes from everywhere, and all of us, you, myself, the ExCom member that has almost 60 years old, we really need to learn to listen to the ideas of the different generations and build on that ideas.
Thank you, Ana. So, Andrea Carreiro, I don't know what the age average is at your startup. So, Andrea is a co-founder and CEO of a startup called Kinergy, that they are accelerating the energy transition in the Portuguese islands. If you don't know them, Google them. They're so beautiful. And maybe she has a job there for you, so you might want to check out Kinergy. What has your experience been in terms of availability of a proper skilled workforce to achieve your company's aims?
So before go to Kinergy, I would like to talk a little bit more about some programs that we have at CleanOnes, because Kinergy, it's basically was created at CleanOnes. So, okay. So regarding also to these aspects in the innovation strategy department of CleanOnes, we will launch next week, I think so, probably the CleanOnes Academy, which is a program that we will develop under the innovation department with the specific purpose to have finalists of the master thesis, or also to do the PhD thesis in the CleanOnes company, but mainly focus on the energy communities of the future. So we have several dimensions of this of these communities that can be, for example, algorithms, business models, markets, regulatory framework. That it's something that it's emerging in every country of Europe, and in this way we will be able to have some senior professional dedicated to one student or one new research, basically to do this kind of diversity in the company, which is really important, and to create the new solutions. We need exactly what Ana said, so experience, but we also need new ideas, someone that come into the program or project and try to ask some questions to develop in a better way. And also for this reason, we are integrated in the new platform that was created by the European Commission, that is the Equality Platform for the Energy Sector. I think this is the name, if I'm not wrong. That is basically to to try to implement the equality in the company, not also regarding to the gender dimension, but also to age and that kind of aspects, which is really, it's really important for the future and also for the sustainability of the company. Kinergy was created in the Azores because CleanWatts is, I can say that is an international company, but the main place is in Coimbra, but I'm from Azores. I live in the Azores. And in the beginning, when I started the company, I was always trying to say that we need to look for the Azores. We need to create the energy communities there. Because in the Azores, we have a really high energy poverty. And I believe that the energy communities are the best way to fight the energy poverty instead of giving social subsidies to that families, because we are not able to effectively reduce the energy consumption or integrate renewables in the grid. And I think that in the Azores, we have beautiful islands but also we have a lot of resources that can be much more used to fight climate change, because the islands are really vulnerable to that changes. So it was a kind of a mission for me, and the team of CleanWatts said to me, okay, Andrea, so let's build a company in the Azores. You will be the manager of the company in the Azores, and you will have your own purpose, because CleanWatts, at CleanWatts we are looking for the world, and I would like to have a company that take care just of the islands. So we start, I think, 6 months ago, and we are trying to create our first project about energy communities, but it's really difficult because we don't have a liberalized market there. We have a really regulated market. We have a monopoly, and we have to change a lot. We have to drive the discussion, and I hope to have the first projects probably next year. But I know that we need to talk a lot to drive this discussion with the government, also with the main utility there, to try to create that kind of new approach that is completely different from what Azores are familiar to with. But the average age of the company of Kinergy, it's difficult, I have to do some, on Kinergy probably 40, at CleanWatts probably 35, let's say, something around that.
Thank you. So I guess you have a lot of mentoring going on there as well, given the age gaps, right? I thought you were going to say they were a lot younger, so I was wrong there.
No, because in fact, I start, for example, in the company that today it's CleanWatts, that was ISA. I start with 23 years old. Nowadays I'm 35, so the years are passing, and we still have some people in the company. But we have good connections with the university, so we still have a lot of young people in the company, but not in this way to have much more young than the senior ones. So I think it's a perfect equilibrium. Yeah.
You know, you just said that you were 35 and you started when you were 23.
Yeah.
And besides that, you're a pretty woman. So did you find any barriers with being a woman, being beautiful, and being young? Did you feel like at some point you weren't taken seriously because of those 3 factors?
Of course. Yeah, it happened a lot of times. But I am a really hard worker, and I think that in the first contact, I feel that sometimes the people don't take it serious. But after 1 hour of conversation, I think
They realize you're the expert.
they realize
and
that
they
I am expert,
trust
because,
you.
and to be honest, I did my PhD at the same time that I did my professional life. So I didn't have the opportunity to do the PhD just so I did both. So I think in the professional life, so the people know that I am a really hard worker. But yes, sometimes you need to talk so someone can give you serious in some way. But I remember the first European project that I start to work. we had the first meeting in Brussels. I was with 23 years old, and the first time that I get in touch with with the members of the project, and I was the coordinator of the project, was by email. And then we had the first meeting in Brussels. And when I get there, I was really worried because they don't know me. So I tried to put a really nice suit with the glasses to look a little bit more older. But then when I get into the room, the people look at me and said, "Oh, you are so young." So it was something like...
It was pointless.
Yes, was. But after 1 hour, everything was okay.
Okay, thank you. André Fernandes, so you have been working with a lot of companies, and what should they do in order to attract and keep young talent, making sure that they are not left behind in the energy transition?
Easy one, huh? So, a lot of things, and at the same time, it seems straightforward. Okay, so it has been talked here today. Organizational culture, it's important. Values are important. And some companies, if not most, they usually have a good way of recruiting if the value proposition at the end is interesting, but maybe find that it's harder to retain the talent, because talent nowadays is it's everywhere, because we need to consider that passionate people, they have talents, and they have a mix of skills that are good at the end to achieve the company goals, because they bring value somehow. It can be interpersonal, it can be technological, you name it. That we have been speaking about age, and youth relates with age, of course, but I would go a bit further with an example. So since the beginning, and I think it was one of the first activities that we started at InnoEnergy, so we invest in master programs. So we collaborate with universities, with the market. Actually, we have students that we call InnoEnergy students in working in REN and in Galp, so they are the ones to assess it better than me. But I think it's a very good, with very good results, this initiative. So basically, InnoEnergy doesn't give any degree. We work with universities because they are the ones that give the degree. Here in Portugal is with Técnico. Actually, the original thinkers of this initiative are from InnoEnergy, so that's another validation that we are on the right track. And our aim is to produce talent. And this talent is related with the mindset. Because in engineering, and I'm an engineer by training, we are brewed to be very technological driven. So back in 2012, we thought, okay, so in order to open up and to answer the energy transition, we need good engineers, we need to build things, but we need engineers with a different mindset, a business mindset, a market mindset. So we started off with that. So basically students go throughout their curricula in each university. We have 16 universities across Europe. And these students are also going to business schools. So here in Portugal, they go to Católica. In Spain, they go to ESAD, in order to understand that a product in the market might be a good product technology-wise, but might not be a good product for the company I work because of some reason. So this mindset. And curiously, and now going back to the age versus mindset, when I started working in InnoEnergy was in 2012. The person behind this new way teaching the future engineers, the future energy leaders, the game changers. It was Torsten from Sweden, so he was the Edu director within InnoEnergy, and he had 70 years old. He's still alive and well, by the way. And he was one of the youngest people that I work with, because although he has the experience of a lifetime working in universities, knowing about education, he was a very young person because he was aspirational, visionary, and he pushed people beyond what they think it's possible to deliver. So it's important, in order for us to understand diversity, it's important to mix thinking about mindsets, not only about age, because we tend to discriminate people that might bring some valuable inputs because of age. And the question of equality, women, men, is exactly the same. So we are different, but different is good. Because the energy transition, let's face it, it's a challenge that humanity needs to step up. It's not only the energy sector. It's impossible. It's the whole society that needs to step up. And in my personal experience, complex problems don't have simple answers. On the contrary. So we need to join forces and do not let people out because of these boxes that we tend to put forward.
Thank you, Andrea. So, João, Andrea was just speaking about this change in mindset, about the importance of training and producing talent. And it sometimes happens that in terms of education, universities actually have outdated courses. And you and the companies know how things are evolving, how things are changing. So in terms of the private sector and education policies, do you think you could guide policymakers in pushing both educational institutions and policymakers in the right direction to offer the correct courses that you need? Or that you need your talent to have?
That's a very interesting question, not easy to answer. Yes, I think there needs to be a convergence between the academia and the business world. Personally thinking, I believe that this convergence is happening by a mutual effort made by both sides, both by companies as well as universities. And when I mean universities, I mean all the context of the university, students, professors, people that are responsible in terms of policymakers, because otherwise there is a cliff that it's difficult to cover. I mean, Andrea was speaking about the need of having someone in the companies that comes with an engineering mindset, but also with economical and financial mindset. And I think that I could not agree more, because real world, I mean, economy is always present. You might have the perfect, and we face that sometimes in REN. We might have the perfect engineering solution. If it's out of control in terms of costs, no one is going to give the go-ahead to these solutions, because we need to be profitable, we need to be economical, sustainable, and that's important. At REN, we try as much as we can to participate in this convergence process of academia and companies. For the Portuguese people, you might be familiar with Prémio REN, which is translating directly is REN's prize. It's a prize that is given to students from universities, which originally was only focused on electrical engineering, mainly reflecting the orange of REN, and that we are trying to spread the targets by including other types of engineering in even management fields, so that this becomes a little bit more eclectic and wide open in order to profit the best people. I'm a full defender of that we need to manage this equality issue, but I think from my professional background, I've been in organizations where meritocracy was the key word. And I think it's independently if we are tall or short, if we are thin or fat, if we are men or women, I think we need to be able to give our best and to be promoted and to be accepted as we are. Coming back to your question, yes, we need to continue this effort. Otherwise, universities need to be part of this equation. And I think what was said here today with this culture of the startups, and this is also helping. I mean, this is helping to bring, to close the gap, because there is always be a gap. I mean, it's structural. There is always a structural gap between what is taught in academia and then what you will face in real world. But hopefully, if this gap is getting smaller and smaller, the better.
Thank you, João. So you spoke about a word that I actually love, meritocracy, as a key word. And before, when I was talking to Andrea about, being a young, beautiful woman, I could see Anna really nodding her head. So I'm sure she has something she wants to share about that. Anna?
Thank you. Thank you. So maybe I can go back to my career a little bit. So I started my career as a microbiologist. Okay, so I started as a researcher in molecular biology, and then I become an expert in technology transfer and intellectual property. So I spent more or less 10 years in this field, and I was one of the youngest experts in Portugal to be an expert at the European Commission in one specific program. So I was super young, like 27 years old, when I had the chance to work as an expert in a European network sponsored by the European Commission. And as you can imagine, I was like 27, and at the time, the vice rector of the University of Porto made me an invitation and invite me to become the head of the department, or basically to create a department at the time, the biggest university in Portugal, and the department was, and you can Google it because it still exists, University of Porto Innovation. So the department was basically a technology transfer office, a liaison office, that was the main objective was to do the bridge between the university and the industry. As you can imagine, I was, I think, 27 at the time, 27, and talking with the CEOs of the biggest companies in Portugal, a lot based in the north of the country. It was not easy. I was always the kid in the room. I was always, most of the times, I was always the only woman, and that's okay. Okay, basically, it's more difficult. Yes, I had to to make me here in the different way. I had to be super professional, and I had it all. So I already had people, and you smile too much. Yes, I smile, and that's okay. And Anna, you look very young. And yes, I'm sorry. So one of the things that at the time I used to do, and even today. So hi, my name is Anna. I'm 45 years old. So for all of you to know that I've at least 20 years of experience. So I basically adapt the speech and adapt a little bit what I was going to say in the beginning to set the tone. Mm-hmm. Now I think it's easier a little bit because companies like Galp or companies that are truly believers in diversity are setting a different tone. For example, if you go back, and I need to go and see my notes, if you go back and just Google it again, if you go back to the trainee program of Galp, the motto was, get ready to continue being who you are. Okay? So it's a completely different mindset, and I'm a believer that although sometimes it's difficult to be the person or the youngest or the woman or the youngest man or the only one that doesn't have an engineering background. I'm a microbiologist. Just make that a difference and just make that a really strength of yourself, you know.
So I was actually, sorry to interrupt you, I was actually going to ask you because Galp is actually a sponsor of this event, so thank you so much. Applause for Galp for sponsoring you guys to be here in Portugal. And I wanted to ask you, so it's really important for you to have young people and to sponsor and to mentor new people and new ideas.
It's super important because so we do not have, internally, we do not have the skills that we need to make the energy transition a reality in the world. So that's why we are here. That's why we sponsor, and I'm here talking to you and doing a pitch, how good is for you if you want to come to Galp and make this journey with us. And it's really a learning journey, and we truly believe that is this, that I mentioned in the beginning, I have 30 people, 9 nationalities. So I have people that are living in Bergen, Norway, and people that are living in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And that's okay, right? That's the mixture that we like. That's the type of mixture that we truly believe that will be the key of the success for making energy transition a reality. And that's why we are here. We know that it's a learning journey and we all need to learn with each other. And that's why we are sponsoring this wonderful event.
Thank you, Ana. So, André Carreiro, I wanted to ask you, so for the last couple of days, we've had a lot of talks, and one of the issues has been how to affirm yourself and your expertise and your knowledge. And we have spoken about creating your own businesses in a world where now it's more than okay to start a startup and to become an entrepreneur. So my question for you is, are there enough opportunities for young people to embark on such an adventure as yours by developing a startup related somehow to the clean energy sector?
I think yes, to be honest, at least at European level. So you have the AEC Accelerator programs, which is a really nice program for the startups that want to create new and disruptive solutions and technologies. You also have at the national level some programs with incentives for this beginning, and to be honest, what I can see, it's basically in the future you will still have a lot of incentives for the creation of new solutions and companies related to the energy transition. But also regarding to the question that you ask, how you can position yourself in some way. Yeah, I think it's important to be connected with some companies, with research institutes as well. For example, us, me and Mariana, we are in the program of the Future Energy Leaders Portugal. I think it's really important because we have a lot of good people involved in the program. We are able to analyze what is happening mainly in Portugal regarding to the energy transition, and we drive the discussion. We have a lot of conferences, and we put position papers in collaboration with several entities. So I think basically we have to be good professionals. We have to be really resilient because we need to believe, and someone will say that we are not in the right way, but we still need to believe, and we need to fight to achieve our objectives. And also, I think it's important to have a kind of not only your professional life, but also participate in some public associations, or to be a little bit more interventive in to create a better society. So I think this is the best way, and we need to work really hard.
Okay, thank you so much. So now we have some time for questions and answers. I would please ask you to be kind to your fellow colleagues that haven't yet had any questions answered. So I don't know, you got the mic, or you need this one?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marian from Romania. My question is addressed to Anna from Galp. Exciting to hear a little bit the plans of Galp, but a little bit disheartening to look at the numbers. So I checked the website and I see that by 2025, only 35% of the investments will go to renewable energy. And I was wondering, it's on the website. And I was wondering, and my question is, where are those 65% going of investments? Is it new explorations or new licenses? I see that you're a little bit confused. I can show the page.
I can check the numbers.
I can say if you want directly. So it says on the climate change and energy, by 2025, about 50% of our investments are aimed at capturing opportunities, of which 35% will be allocated to renewable power generation and new businesses. Mm-hmm. So my question is, where are those 65% going? And if this is aligned with science, but also urgency of scaling down and phase out of fossil fuels. And it's not just an activist question, it's also related to the job opportunities for young people. Thank you.
So thank you so much for the opportunity to explain exactly. So first of all, we are really embracing the energy transition, okay? But let's look at numbers too. 80% of the consumption in terms of the worldwide energy, it's still fossil fuels. And in order for us, all of us, to do an inclusive and sustainable and equal transition, we really need to do a transition, okay? Galp decided to put 50% of the new investments between 21 and 25 in new energies and renewables. Actually, if you look at the numbers this year, you will see that almost 50% are going to renewables. If you look at the numbers that were presented the last quarter, the 50% of the new investments are going to renewables, okay? But we will need to continue to do the investments in the old and traditional assets, and I tell you why. I'm super proud of what we have been doing in Brazil. Brazil has a top, excellent network and center of excellence in terms of knowledge and in terms of technology, because we, as a sector, we invest at least for more than 15 years, with at least 1% in R&D in Brazil. And you might think that's not too much, but this allows us today to say that the assets that we have in upstream and midstream, so traditional oil and gas in Brazil, is basically, in terms of emissions, 50% less than the average of the sector. So the R&D and all the investments that we did as a sector, not only Galp, as a sector, in these traditional, in the traditional that we usually look at the bad part of the sector, is actually allowing us as a global sector to have one ecosystem in Brazil that is emitting 50% in terms of CO2 emissions than the global average of the whole sector, the worldwide sector. So, just to mention that, if you look at the numbers, for example, this year, we are really doing what I'm saying that we are doing. 50% are going to renewables. And just check the financial reports, and maybe we can talk a little bit after. In terms of innovation portfolio, I can tell you that 50% of the new investments at least are going to renewables and new energies. When I mean new energies, I mean green hydrogen, the lithium, I mean electric mobility, I mean everything that is related with the journey that the sector needs to do. Did I answer?
More questions?
It's not. Test.
Yeah.
wanting to contribute to fossil fuel development, so they're aware of the climate crisis. But a lot of these companies essentially attract you renewable talent because they want to preserve their market position. You want to increase your profits, you want to transition. And young talent won't come to these companies if this is not being done. But there's a lot of blocking historically by the managers, by the investors, and by the top level. So essentially my question is, what are you doing to educate these people and raise awareness about the climate crisis?
That question, it's for me, right? Is it for me? So the first leader in the company that is walking the talk is the CEO and the executive committee, okay? So it starts there. When I'm saying that we want to reach into 2050 decarb portfolio, it was a decision from the executive committee, and it was a decision that was approved by the board. And as you can imagine, if you look at the results that we have right now, that basically more than 90% comes from the traditional upstream and midstream, you might think the challenge that the executive committee had to approve that. And you might, so if you go back like 2 years ago when we did that bold decision, almost 2 years ago, you might imagine the phones ringing from the investors. But that's what we truly believe, okay? We believe that all of us need to do this transition in a very inclusive way, okay? So we believe that first, the energy needs to be accessible, needs to be affordable, and needs to be sustainable, okay? And if you look at the numbers that we have in some of the big companies like Galp, and look at the numbers that we had this year. This year, 2022, was not a good year for most, in terms of worldwide, for the energy transition itself. Okay, we had the coal production increasing, okay, because in terms of crisis, it's quite easy to think only in short term and to think that we only need to have accessible and affordable energy and forget about the sustainable energy. Okay, so it's super important to have the leaders saying, like we are having in Galp, saying that we are really walking the talk and that we are really willing to do the energy transition and really to do the investments that we are doing. So if you think about, if you look at some numbers, and then you can have my, well, just add me in LinkedIn. I can send you some numbers too. But if you think about the hydrogen, the green hydrogen value chain, so we are really doing the first pilots of green hydrogen in the beginning of next year in Portugal. So we're going to produce 2 megawatts, and you think, oh, it's not enough. Yes, of course, it's not enough. It's a pilot. We will test. We will start producing. But our aim is, for example, to have 200, 100 plus 100 megawatts in Sines in order to, the first application of green hydrogen is really to the refinery. And we want basically to change from gray hydrogen to green hydrogen, allowing all of us to have fuels that are more decarb. Because as I said in the beginning, it's the journey, it's the first step that we need to do. But we are, of course, investing in biofuels. Of course, we are the leaders in Portugal in mobility, and our vision is to continue to be leaders in Portugal, in Spain, in electric mobility. We are doing a lot of, but it's like I'm just giving some examples for you all to understand that, or for you all, or just to share. This is really a journey, and we need all of us, all the different parts of the system needs to work together in order to continue to have some kind of balance in the energy system, not to allow to have more poverty in the countries that will not have possibility of not having such accessible, in terms of economic, accessible energy. So for me, and I started my career as a biotech, okay? So when I joined Galp 2.5 years ago, I was like, I'm joining because I'm a believer that we really need to do this energy transition in an inclusive way, okay? But look at the numbers, look at the facts. We cannot do the shift like this. It's impossible. Because even if you look at the numbers of the gas in Russia, it's basically the whole world suffered, and it was only just looking. Of course, I'm not talking about talking about the suffering in terms of energy. So we're talking about 4% of the market worldwide. So 4% created a huge damage in terms of the prices of the gas and so on. So once again, so my concern when we are doing this whole energy transition is really to make sure that is an inclusive transition, and that's why it's so important for all of us to find solutions to continue to produce energy in a more sustainable, decentralized, and hopefully with low-cost technologies, allowing everybody in the world to have access to cheap and green energy.
Do we have time for more questions? Yeah? Okay, one more.
Thank you very
Is it not working?
much.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Olushola Bangbola from Nigeria. So I just want to probably the panelists to just relay their experience on youth exuberances to enhancing their innovative skills within your organizations. You know, I think everybody would like to hear that here.
Sorry. Who was the question for, and could you
No,
repeat it?
No, sorry, anybody can take it, I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Like youth exuberances to enhancing their innovative skills within your organizations.
Okay, so what skills you need in the organizations? Did I hear that correctly?
No, like probably, you know, when you're in an organization as a youth, most of the times you get like, okay, I want to be hard. You know, there's this youth exuberances that comes with it, right? So I want them to just relate to us how they've treated it, and you know, what are the best things to, you know, to be done in that circumstance.
Who wants to answer that one? About skills? I can talk.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I understood all the question, but regarding to skills, basically, we need all of the skills at the moment, and to be
Sorry,
honest,
I'm not talking about the skills.
not the skills.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, I'm saying, oh, I'm not fast actually. Oh, okay. So let me try to break it down. What I'm saying actually that when you have like, let me say different youth, right, within your organizations, one of the things actually that comes with it is the youth exuberances. I want my skills to be known, probably I want my innovation to be known, probably, you know, within the organizations. So how have you treated it in your own different and respective organizations? That's what I'm just asking. Well, possible. Actually, I didn't know.
So if I understood correctly, the point was if you have certain kind of skills that you think that you are unique and you really push to show that uniqueness throughout the organization, like I'm young, I have this set of skills, they are unique, we need to do this, pum, 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 in a certain area, and it gets a bit out of control. How do you control that? How do you manage those situations? Because even if the person is very much skilled, if the idea can be great, how do you manage the situation not to get out of control, not to be a bit of contagious with the team, with other people of the same age group, same kind of mindset, etc., etc.?
I can try to answer. I'm still not sure if I clearly got the picture what they are asking, but I will try to answer. If it's not directly to your question, please tell me. An organization, by principle, is a combination of people. So, I mean, you have to maintain balance. This is like you are playing in a team where the goal is for the team and not individually. So, to start, if you are a very skilled person, I think it's an obligation of the organization to pay attention to you because the market is open, and if you are not happy and if you don't see that you are not being recognized in this organization, I'm sure other organizations are going to be aware of, and they might make you a proposal, and today what we are seeing is that especially on your generation, you are no longer staying in companies for life. I mean, if you go back to the, for instance, in the case of REN, we have the people that are about 60 years old, they are there, they had only one job, which was they graduate, they went to REN, and they are going to retire in REN. Your generation, and I think a little bit of our generation, it's no longer like that. We move from companies to companies. This is the normal market working. So, so to start, I think there is an obligation of managers, directors to pay attention to each individual member in the team and to profit as much as the skills of that person. On the other hand, you individually, you have to think that you are working in a group. So if you want to do something, you might expose your ideas and you might present your ideas, but you have to accept that if your ideas are not the ones in line with the strategy of the team or the strategy and the goals of the company, I mean, you should not feel completely demotivated because your ideas are not taken in the first moment. If you try several times and you always see that your ideas are not taken, I think that there is a mismatch between your expectations and the company expectations. So, but again, this is something that is not only applicable to work, but it's applicable in everything in our lives. I mean, in our private life, in university and elsewhere. I don't know if I answered your question, if it was the...
We have time for more?
Yeah, thank you. So to continue on that, and both on your question as well, I'm Jeroen. Thank you very much for all your contributions. A lot of interesting developments actually come from young people getting the room and the space to give an idea, and then they're listened to. And I think, Andrea, you're a perfect example of that already. And there's probably more. But I think what's critical in this is actually managers who give these people the space, the room to empower these people. I mean, that's the task of a manager, not just for the young people, also for the old ones, of course. Well, we have a lot of managers here as well. Do you feel empowered and ready? And do you have the space to actually empower us as youth, give us the room, but also the feedback we need with sometimes our too much energy and naivety a little bit? And do you feel like other managers you work with or you have under you, are they empowered, or how can we help them to be more empowered and ready for this generation with all these challenges to come?
Okay, I can start. In my environment, so in my company, I can say yes. So it's really normal. Even me, I start to be a manager really young. So in my company, this is really common. And also, what I think it's also important, not also the technical expertise or the specific expertise, but also the soft skills is essential. You have to be someone that can create a good environment in your company and to promote the discussion and to listen and to talk and to create. And to be honest, what I can see nowadays, I can see even that, I don't know, probably the soft skills are even much more important than the other expertise, because if you are a good human, you will be able for sure to learn whatever you want and be the best as you can be. And I think, yes, in my company, we feel all that connection between all the ages, and everybody has equality empowerment, as I can say. Yeah.
So that seems easy, but it's, once again, complex to answer. So the 21st century overall, it's a bad century for those who cling on control. First point. So companies tend to understand very quickly, because it's their business, the signals from the environment. They bring shocks. And the organization, they all move as the same animal, the clear goals, the clear KPIs. But now they understand that sometimes individuals within this large mass of people that go forward towards the same goal can sometimes bring something different. And the way we do business today, as we are seeing everything that is going on, needs to be different, needs to be more disruptive. And for that, you need to react faster, to be agile. Everyone already knows the agile methodology, so forth. What a company can do when managers do is to formally institute an innovation policy in the organization, because it dictates what you can do with these ideas that are loosened up in the organization, and there is no process to put them until the last stage of the innovation process, the diffusion, right? But on the other hand, and that's the complexity, you need to be lean. So you don't want processes, because processes is more paper, it's more people, it's more meetings, it's more committees, and we don't need that. We need to be fast. So it's finding the right balance within the organization to listen to everyone, but someone needs to listen. And if a big organization, so I manage a very small team of 8, and sometimes I struggle because I don't have time to listen to all of them, but I want to listen. So it's a balance, it's a trade-off. I agree with João. You need to become visible. Of course, you cannot jump in and drop a bomb, but you need to be visible, or people will not listen. And there's a competition for everything in this life, including your ideas. Because you think it's a good idea, your colleague next to you will think he has or she has a good idea also. So it's easy to think that the managers need to listen to us because we are there, but take a look at the other side. Managers, they have their responsibilities, they are busy, they have to listen to everyone, and at the end, they are just human beings like you, so they are not able to deliver all the expectations. So try to help their framework your idea, and try for the managers, if they implement an innovation policy, because it's quite different to work in with innovation and to be innovative. And that's where the internal innovation policy might work.
Yeah, maybe my question was to João. So I work for Ensoi. Also, you are one of our shareholders. One of the point I see in the TSO business is that, compared with the private sector, is that TSO business is really regulated. The private sector, if we don't address the youth engagement problem, the market will punish them. But the TSO business or the regulators, they are free, they have free ride there. This is the true thing. And what I see in the TSO business in general is that there is hardly any chance for young people to climb up the career unless they spend 10 or 15 years in the same company. And I see that it's very conservative. I'm really sorry to say. And just one example is the Ensoi System Operations Committee. The average age, I could imagine, is around 55 to 60. And they are the colleagues who they are experienced, very talented, but they are the one who takes the main decision. So I really see there is a lot of improvements could be made. And how do you see the future, and what can we do to improve this situation? Yeah.
Well, that's a very good and challenging question. Thank you for asking. Let me start by saying that I totally agree with your vision on Ensoi, and I think Ensoi needs to be rethink, otherwise it will easily become extinct. I don't agree with some of the things you said. I mean, TSO business, some of the TSOs in Europe are private sector also. We are not free to do what we want because we have our own clients, to start the national regulators, and I can tell you that they are a very, very difficult client because they keep asking for quality of service but they don't want to pay, and they ask for to do more and more with less and less money, which is something that is seriously a challenge, especially nowadays. And I give you a very, very specific example. We are being accused everywhere in Portugal of being the bottleneck of creating new connections for renewables to connect to the grid. But our investments need to be approved. We cannot just simply, because we are a regulated company, we cannot simply invest on REN shareholders and management decision. This needs to be approved by different entities, to start by the regulators. And regulators have not been approved many of the things that we have been proposing in the last 10 years. So now it's very easy to say we need to rush, we need, picking up a little bit what Anna was commenting, we need to change dramatically everything. And your generation, youth, I mean, you are, this is, I think it's constant in time. Youth is impatient by nature. You want things to change, not tomorrow, today, now. And in order to make this change sustainable, we need to make it carefully. We cannot change dramatically the energy world without assuring that to start security of supply is not putting at risk. I would love, for the sake of my daughters, they are younger than you are, I would love to be in a planet where everything should have been moved ahead faster. But if we are here today with lights on, it's because companies like Galp is bringing natural gas into the Portuguese system. Otherwise, we would be in a blackout without energy to be all together in this room. Opportunities for young people like you in a TSO. To start, we desperately need a young generation to come in to change a little bit this culture that I was mentioning before of completely risk averse. You have to understand that our business, we have to be very carefully in accepting and doing things, because ultimately we cannot put at risk the security of supply of the system. Other stakeholders in the value chain of energy, they can fail, but they have backup. The grid operators, they don't have backup. If something goes wrong, there is not another grid available to come in and to compensate for this mistake. So we are risk averse, and we should be continuously being risk averse, but having said that, it does not mean that we should keep doing the things as we were doing 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And there where people like you must come in and to change this mentality. If we were having the mentality of the engineerings that have now 60 years old, the example I gave you about the grid connection, the grid to recharge electric vehicles would never happen in REN. And this is one of many examples of innovation culture that we are trying to bring in. And this innovation culture, it needs to have raw material, and raw material are new mentality, new ideas like you can bring to us. Energy transition is a very serious and delicate subject. I mean, we all want things to move in the direction where I think it's moving. Some of us want it to move faster. Some others want to move a little bit more sustainable. But the direction is there. And if the mentalities on companies, like smaller companies where innovation is mandatory and youth is mandatory for their own survival, in the business of the TSOs, it's also a matter of survivance. Because if we do not change, we will be changed externally. You will have, just to give you examples, you will have new people coming in and question, why should grids be a monopoly? Why should grids be part of this company? I can start developing my own grid, taking my own risks. And this is just an example that we need to drop this idea that we are a monopoly, a regulated company, a very traditional company, previously state-owned, we are now private, in order to move into a new concept and where new ideas come in. Otherwise, mark my words, and I'm a strong believer of that. If we don't follow the trend, we will be extinct, independently of being apparently very strong. Dinosaurs were extinct and they were strong, but they were extinct. And this happens with companies and organizations that do not take and not catch the signals, like Andrea was mentioning, the signals that are everywhere and then don't bring it in. And ENTSO-E is a good example. I could not agree with you more. I'm a very big critic internally on our participation on ENTSO-E. The committees, like you mentioned, I even heard not very nice comparisons that some people even internally do to those committees. They say that they are elder people in their pre-retirement phase discussing interesting subjects, but that's not enough anymore. I mean, we need to bring green energy, sustainable energy, security of supply, cheap energy, all into one single equation. Otherwise, we are out of the game.
Do we still have time, or is that it? No? Okay. So thank you very much. I would like you guys to give your applause to our speakers. Again, I'm sure all of them are on LinkedIn if you have any further questions. I don't know if they're going to stay for our coffee break or not, but maybe you could speak to them during the coffee break. And as for me, this is the last panel of the 3 days that we're going to have our speakers. So for me, it's a goodbye and a thank you to you guys. And I just wanted to leave, thank you. And just to finish, you know, guys, you are the change makers, so dream big, set a goal, and most importantly, take action, okay? So good luck with everything, and I hope that the rest of your stay in Portugal is just as amazing as these past days. Thank you very much. Thanks. 30-minute coffee break, okay? Thank you.
Guys, 2 seconds. So we have a small surprise for you. So we have an artist over there next to the coffee break. And you need to go there and you need to say a sentence about energy. And there's an algorithm behind that will automatically draw something. And at the end of the day, we will have basically a drawing about energy based on your sentences. So feel free to go there.